Hey everybody, welcome back to Sunday Afternoon Smokes, your casual conversation podcast from the upstate of South Carolina. My name is Chris. I'm your host. I'm also the owner and operator of The Cigar Box, a mobile cigar bar that serves the upstate and beyond. And if you've been listening to Sunday Afternoon Smokes, I'd appreciate it if you'd drop me a review and help me out. Today, we have a returning guest, my friend Sean Martin. Hey, buddy, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you.
You were episode number 2.
Was I?
Yeah, way back when. So, I mean, not that it's a huge amount of time, but as far as just, I guess, what we were talking about just, 5 seconds ago, the sake of consistency when you're running a business or really, I mean, that's anything.
Yeah.
That's like, I want to lose weight, or that's, I want to, I don't know, I want to go to the gym more, or I want to, like, fill in the blank. Like, the biggest indicator of success there is going to be, can I be consistent at it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then even like with the working out thing, because I've been doing that a long time,
Yeah.
to touch on that, it's like there's times where I get bored of that though, and I'll take breaks, but the consistency part of it is always coming back to it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I had a break. I took like a little, 20 days off, and I'm like, okay, now I need to start working out again.
Yeah.
But consistency is key with everything.
It is. Speaking of the gym, whenever we brought Poppi over to you a week and a half ago or whatever it was, I had my daughter with me, Della, and she goes, after we left there and we're in the car, I think we were in the car on the way home or something, she goes, Dad, has he got more swole? I'm like, yeah, I mean, Sean, he works out a lot and pays attention to what he's doing, and he's kind of beefed up. She's like, yeah, I don't remember him being that big. So look at you impressing number one for me, like your physique is impressive, but she certainly took note of it.
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, here we are. This is episode 51 coming up. This will come up, this coming Sunday. We're recording here on Friday, January the 16th. So I know some things have changed since we talked a year and several months ago on the podcast. So you've already lit your cigar. I'm going to light mine. So for people that have not listened to episode number 2, they don't know who you are. Introduce yourself, give the rundown of what you do and how people can find you on social media and whatever else. And then while you do all that, I'm going to light this smoke.
Awesome. My name is Sean Martin. Chris already mentioned that. I am the owner and head trainer at Jetline Canine Training. It's Jetline, like the airplane, spelled out Canine, Canine training. Those are all my social media tags, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, which I pretty much use none of, which is great. That's why, a lot of my business comes from word of mouth. The other thing that I'm working on now is actually open up a dog rescue that focuses mainly on intaking dogs, training them, and then rehoming them to anybody that needs a service dog. So working towards service dogs work. The name of that company, it's official. All the paperwork's done. I just haven't announced anything. It's called Blues Buddies.
Okay.
My dog
Your
Blue.
dog Blues, yeah.
So the other one is Jet, my other dog Jet.
Yep.
So they both get my companies because at the end of the day, I did it, but I want them to have all the credit. But yeah, the biggest thing, hopefully with the rescue, is going to come along well, and I could really put all my time into training dogs there, helping out other people by giving away free rescue dogs and helping the dogs that are in need. A big focus there is taking dogs that have behavioral issues like I do now with training, but hopefully being able to pull them from rescues and help out the ones that are definitely going to get put down and just kind of have all the time that I need having a rescue, because I don't have to turn them back over to an owner in 6 weeks.
Sure.
To try to really change their lives around and hopefully help a lot of people out. So hopefully that's my retirement plan, and then I'll train other people to run my other part of the company.
You train dogs, and then you're going to train people to train dogs.
Yep.
It's all about training.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's all I really do is train people. Like, I know that people don't know this, but Chris just mentioned he brought Poppi to me, which is Chris's newest puppy addition to his family for his wife. She needs a service animal, so I am in charge of training that, but that's I'm going to teach Chris more than anything when that dog comes back here, how to live with her, how to interact with her, because that's really the most important part.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you and I, we've known each other for what, 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. And you know that I was the guy who's like, I don't like dogs. I'm not interested in having a dog. I'm not gonna ever get a dog. But if I were to get a dog, you would train it for me. And
Yeah,
then,
you stuck to that.
yeah, I did. I
Absolutely.
did. Uh, life threw us a curveball with my wife having her stroke 8.5, almost 9 months ago now. Um, and she several months ago, man, she looked at me and was just like, "I want a dog," and I just shook my head. I'm like, "Look, we've got two cats." And cats pretty much take care of themselves. Other than you taking care of the food and water and litter, you don't have to do anything. We had this bearded dragon, which was an impulse purchase of my wife and my daughter, which we recently sold. So that's something I can get off the plate in order to take on this dog. But anyway, my wife's like, I just, want a dog. And I'm thinking, why? Why do you want a dog? And look, it, having a stroke of her caliber totally changes your life.
Yeah.
Changes everything about your life. She is now 100% disabled. She cannot work. Her speech, well, of course, you just saw it's getting better.
Yeah, she's doing pretty good, but still
Yeah,
it's tough for anybody outside of,
right,
or anybody with a lack of patience, therefore, would be
right.
better.
I mean, she couldn't, like, even right now, if she was physically able, she couldn't be an employee because she can't communicate properly in a
Right.
in a regular setting and working a job where you just have to talk. She can't do that. So, and as her husband, I provide as much love and support as I can. And then, but it was clear to me that um, she needed something that I can't provide,
Right.
just emotionally. Um,
Just a little buddy to be around all the
right.
time.
Like a companion. That's what she wanted. This, like, 4 or 5 month old. Sorry, 4 to 5 years old was her original 4 to 5 year old dog that's already housebroken, knows the rules, a little lap dog. Were you surprised whenever I texted you and said, "Hey, think about getting a dog"?
I've not really, because of how we started talking about it. And then we had a few conversations where you kept bringing up how your wife wanted one. And I was like, well, I know Chris is, your care is really about making her happy and being awesome. And you've always been a good person. You care about others. So I was like, eventually he's going to crack and get a dog. It was just a matter of time, to
Right.
be honest with you. I was like, he's definitely, and the more you started talking to me about it,
You're like,
my
he's
wife
done.
wants a dog.
This guy's freaking over.
My wife wants a dog, but I don't want one. I'm like, okay. We'll
I mean,
see how that goes.
like, honestly, at the end of the day, as much as I don't really like or care for dogs, at the end of it all, like, my wife has a need, and I count her needs more important than my preferences.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I guess we're getting a dog.
And it's not like you've ever hated dogs, because I bring my dogs around and you've always.
Yeah, but your dogs are very
That's what
well
I mean.
trained.
Like, everybody says that, like, oh, I don't like dogs, or my dad's that way. I think I mentioned that last time we talked with Shafi a long time ago. But like, he's like, I hate dogs. I hate dogs. But then every time he comes to my house, he's petting my dogs and loving
Yeah.
my dogs. And I go, what you really don't like is people that have untrained dogs, which respectable. Like, I
Sure.
don't. It's like having a bad kid that's out throwing
Well,
tantrums in there.
like, my deal about not liking dogs is it's probably more along the lines that I just think they're kind of gross. And also they require more energy than a cat does, and more attention. And like, in my former life, working and doing things of that nature, and spending time with my kids, it's like you finish your day, and the last thing I really want to do is take this stupid dog for a walk. I
Yeah.
just don't, or take her to the dog park and play fetch so she can like get her energy out and not destroy the feet on my couches by chewing them up. And
Why do you think they're gross?
I don't know,
Because they
dogs
don't
and just
wipe
freaking
after
like
they poop,
puke
or
and then eat their vomit and then like eat cat turds and
yeah.
yeah. I mean that's what I mean when I say I think dogs are gross. But anyway, so that's kind of like my perspective. They're kind of gross, and also I really just didn't feel like I have the energy to put into a dog with
Yeah.
other things. Of course, now my life is very different, and I do have, and being a full-time caretaker, I do have a lot more time on my hands
Right.
to show attention to this dog, because obviously my wife is not going to be able to take it to the dog park and play fetch with it. I mean, she can take it, but she can't run around and do all
Right.
the
Yeah, yeah.
stuff, so I'll be able to do that. But anyway, where I was going was you came over. I said, hey, look, why don't you, maybe I said, we're going to get a dog. I want to talk to you about it. It told you her idea, and your advice was, honestly, I think you should get a puppy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 100% to me. Obviously, there's breeding standards with dogs, and I told you a little about it like that, like how you could breed temperaments of dogs. But when you're getting dogs, and the reason to touch base on like why I started my own rescue is because there's so many rescue dogs out there, and not that obviously no hate against them, but like if you go out there, they're going to have issues. Like they've been sitting in a rescue where people are letting them bark or just not giving them the attention or the life they deserve. So to take a dog like that, you almost have to do like a whole reset on its life to be like, hey, buddy, like this is a new lifetime. And rescue dogs will always be grateful, but like, especially something with your wife where you're looking for a service dog, like I can do that through the rescue because I'm going to have that dog for a long time, and I'll be able to like flip its lifestyle and take it out of a, unsafe environment that it perceives, all that stuff. But when it comes to you where you're like, hey, we want to get a puppy soon, and like your wife is in need, I'm like, hey, get a puppy. We could do all the training up front. All the lifestyle stuff will be built in, and it's just going to make your life and her life easier in the future.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you before we sat down, is like the way that I live with dogs teaches them lifestyle changes. Like most people would come over my house and be like, oh, your dogs are all so good. And it's because of how I interact with dogs just in general. Like I have like my own, like I told you, like when dogs walk in front of me, like I don't kick them out of the way. I just continue on my path. And if they're in my path, they're just going to move out of the way, which is very important for somebody like your wife who can't get around that great. Because let's face it, there's people that'll go around or avoid, like, I got to walk around the puppy, or like a little kid, even, like some people might think that's horrible. But if a little kid's in the way and you just bump them out of the way, they're going to be like, oh, I got to move. Not the other way around, which I
Right.
think a lot of people apply to their own dogs. Like, oh, you could just go around them. And I'm like, it's not that you're being mean. You're just teaching them, like, hey, avoid where I'm walking. So that way you stay out of harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one thing that I learn, or really just rewarding little things throughout the day, is a lot of like, I'll send you videos of where I'm hanging out with your puppy, and we'll touch on all this stuff and explain it to you better. But like my emotions, I was doing a little training the other day to teach your puppy, which is great. And I use this to teach puppies the word no. Is like, I'm in the middle of playing with them, loving on them. And then she goes to jump at me, and I just say the word no, and all the fun stops. Like I become this statue that is just like, oh, well, that sucks. In other words, like to the puppy. But as soon as she goes back to the right behavior, which is all feet on the floor and kind of like being good or sitting, then I start to be like, yeah, good girl, good job. Like show her all that emotion is what I'm looking for. And then she learns really quickly too, in that aspect, the word no, just as a consequence of the fun turns off. So like now I could use that later. Like, for example, she jumped on my counter and I said the word no. And even though I wasn't playing with her, she's like, oh, no is not fun. So as soon as she got down from the counter after that, I gave her a reward, a treat, and a praise. And she's like, oh, that was pretty sweet. So it's kind of built in with that.
Right. So what you're doing is, I mean, you're rewarding the behavior that you want to see, and you're not you're not scolding bad behavior. You are like you said, I just become a statue.
Yeah, I just
Everything
all the fun
becomes
stops.
right.
Like, and that includes whatever she might perceive as fun at the time. So and I use that with a lot, like you could use it with all dogs, but again, like people want to resort to a punishment linked with the word no, and that is punishment in its own, is me taking away that fun, right? So it's like, hey, the word no comes and then I take away your ball. So they're like, oh man, that really sucks. Like, I got to get that ball back. But as soon as they start giving me the behavior that I like, or even if it's something like laying down next to me, I could say the word yes or nothing, and I just give them their ball back. But that also too, like the way that I look at it is like, hey, I need to be really exciting in those moments that she's doing good.
Right.
Because otherwise it's boring too. And then the word no doesn't mean as much. So like when she's doing the right thing, I'm a big, like, I tell people, like, people should look at you like you're a little off and crazy.
Yeah, you got to be. I mean, your voice has to be high.
Puppy, good job.
Yeah, your body language has to be very animated.
Yeah, I actually took a video of that to show you exactly how I like turn into like this big baby. I'm like, oh, what a good puppy, good job. And then as soon as I was teaching her place, so all I'm doing is asking her to step on this little platform. Then when she gets off the platform, I just say no, and then I stop. And immediately she comes back and puts herself on the platform. As soon as she does, I'm like, good job, good puppy. I think I actually sent you the video.
You sent me some, I mean, but it's all dubbed over with music, so I couldn't hear anything else, which is fine. So yeah, talk about that video. Like you texted me a video, and you had this little yellow platform, probably this like what 6 inch, like a few inches off the ground.
Yeah, little place.
And it's just the object is to get her to what, like, obviously you wanted her at first. She doesn't know what this is, so she's skittish around it. She doesn't want to walk across it, and so you're like trying to tempt her with food.
Yep, I kind of lure her over it, and anytime she sniffed it or interacted with it at first, I gave her a reward, which is like praise and food, right? So I'm like, anytime that you pay attention to this perceived...
You can train people this way.
Oh, 100%. I told you that, but that's a little... I mean, you could easily reward people the same way.
It's the same thing.
It really is. It's all Pavlov's law, which is like, hey, dinner bell means good thing. But there's also like, humans are easier to train in certain cases. Like I told you, like anytime your wife were to clean the kitchen or something and you brought her a Hershey bar right after, she'd be like, well, that was kind of cool. And like, we could do the same thing. Like, we're very easy creatures. People make us out to be like we're geniuses, but really at the end of the day, we just work for reward, whatever that reward is. Even if that reward is peace, like, oh, I finished, I can sit down and relax. You know what I mean? But like, think about it. If you, every time you came outside and, well, you're doing what you like to do, but smoked a cigar, and then you came inside and your wife was like, let me give you this, you'd be out here like twice as much, just with the hopes of like, maybe next time I go out there, she'll give me that same reward. You know?
Sure.
So it really does apply to humans as well, but everybody tries to make it more complicated, I think.
Like, so you're using this little yellow platform for the purpose of teaching her what the word place means?
Yep.
Now, by the way, before you go any further, in your training, the way you do it, what does place mean? Like, what do you want out of that?
Place is just like, so if I had like a bunch of company over and she was being in the way, or we're eating, I like using place a lot for if I'm eating. Like, you go sit on your little placemat, and when I'm done, I'll release you and you could get your own food. So that's just simple. Or like anytime you need your dog to get out of the way, or sometimes, and this is one thing I think I talked to you about it a lot, is like, we live in a world today where people get dogs because they want the attention from a dog and not like the other way around. So a lot of people are asking dogs to do unreasonable things, like come out to dinner with me and sit in one spot for 2 hours while I sit there and eat and talk with all my friends, and then you're just this ornament. So you can use it in certain situations like that, like bring out a towel, put her on place, and then she could kind of just chill and be in her own world. But touching on that again is like, for me, I tell you all the time, like, we've brought these dogs into an unreasonable human world of like, hey, I want you to do all this stuff, but you live in this little box. Whereas back in the day, and I know you know this because you're not much older, but older than me, and people didn't have dogs like they do today. Like, unless they had a job for them, or they were outdoor dogs, or, somebody that had a farm had a dog.
Right.
Whereas like now everybody has a dog that's like a
Yeah, if you had a farm, you
Or
had a dog. If you were a bird hunter of some kind, you had a dog.
yeah, and they all had a
If
purpose,
you right.
right? And that's what I tell people. Like all of our dogs have a purpose, and that's why we experience so many behavioral issues, which is I'm thankful for because that's why I have a job. But like all you got to do is give dogs their primal outlet. Like they're still at the end of the day, they're predators. So I need to give my dog the opportunity at least once a day to fulfill that emotion. Like I have Jet, and I tell you all the time, if I don't play fetch with her or do something with, she's a Malinois, do something with her at least twice a day,
It's gonna be trouble.
I'm going to come home and
Yeah.
she's going to eat half my shit. Like my furniture is going to be messed up. My books are going to be destroyed. And like,
Yeah.
for me to get mad at her for that is unreasonable.
Sure.
And that's where I try to tell people, I'm like, you got to give a dog a purpose no matter what. So even why I brought that up though is to give that little place cop meaning. Believe it or not, I make that dog's job, right? Is like, it's a fun, fulfilling job because the way that you see it, she's interacting with that. Always positive things are happening. She's getting food. She's getting praise. So like for her, it's a reward just sitting on there at some point.
Now, does the word place mean, is the word place, does that translate to anywhere I need it to be in the moment? Like if I just say place, or are we talking about like once we've got her little area set up at home where her dog bed will live and I tell her place that's where she's going to go?
You could switch objects with that, and I tell people that all the time. Like, then you just have to, they have the general idea of like, okay, usually a place cot looks like this, or it's like some object that I need to get on top of. But to be fair, like when I bring her here, I'm going to show her that bed that you have for her. I'm going to show her the same thing. I'm like, place, and I'm going to walk her over to it and show her like, hey, this is your new little place, if you will. And then after like 3 repetitions, she's going to, oh, okay, this is what place is for this object. But there's some people out in the dog training world that would punish her for not getting on that new bed, which is just not, again, that's not reasonable. Like she has no idea that this new place. So I have to just be like, hey, 3 times, let's get you on this thing. That's your new place. Then she's got a good idea of it. And then I'm like, okay, we're good. Now she understands that place just means you can't leave that object, if that makes sense.
Okay. So that's basically when you tell her place, you have to stay here until I give you the next command that tells you can leave.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that applies like a down too, but a down is just anywhere. It's just a general area. Like a place is get onto an object and stay on that object. That's all the difference.
And down, I mean, obviously there's sit, but then down is like all fours. You're like all the way down.
Yep. Just laying down.
Just laying down. Gotcha. Yep. Okay. So that was cool to watch. I enjoyed that video. But the first one that you sent, which, you posted to your social media, which, if you haven't seen it, you can go on Instagram. The handle is Jetline Canine Training.
Yep.
And you'll see it. And you were working with her. You said, what did you say in that post? Like getting her to recognize a marker?
Marker training. So that's exactly
what you're clicker
talking about with like Pavlov's law, right? So
yeah, I was going to ask that. What is a marker? What does that mean?
It can be anything. It could be, you could chirp, you could do whistle, you could even say a name or a word or whatever. The only thing is that word always has to be paired with something positive. So it's the same kind of thing we were talking about where like, okay, you might do something good or your wife does something good and then you reward her every time for that. So like when I say the word yes to my dogs, they will always run right to me because like, Dad's got some shit for us. Right. So like to me, I'd say there's 2 different markers, which is you're basically ending your command on yes, right? And then good is a marker, which means continue to do what you're doing and I'll still reward you for that. But yes means we're done. Come get food from me. And I'll explain that more when you get the puppy. But like I tell her to go to place. I say the word yes, and she's like, oh, I'm going to Dad to get whatever reward he has.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you create the marker. In the beginning, all you're doing is walking in circles. And when she engages with me, which you can see in the video, I say yes, and then I open my hand with food in it.
Right.
And she's like, oh, okay, every time this guy says yes, like I'm going to go check that out because he's got something good. And the reason why that's so important is because now I can apply that. So anytime she checks out that bed, which is the video that I sent you, like the place, all I got to say is yes. And she's like, wait, sniffing that bed got me a reward. So let me go do it again and again and again. And then anytime she goes after that, like goes on to like, oh, well, let me put one foot on that bed. I'm like, yes, good girl, and make a huge deal. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Anytime I interact with it, I get that yes, and that means I get food. So essentially, I'm just kicking up her dopamine anytime she does something I enjoy. And then when she doesn't do something I enjoy, I just kind of am silent, and you can see me watch her.
Oh, well, see, that's the thing I noticed in that video, that there's a couple of times where, you know, she's following you around because you're the guy with food in his hand. And, you know, when she's doing what you want, you give her food. But I noticed a couple of times she didn't like want to jump up.
Nope.
No food for that.
No.
I noticed when she went up.
And you see you kind of just turn into statue mode too. Like I'll cross my arms and be like, nope, we're just not friends.
And whenever she got back on the floor, here we go.
Yep.
Got your little treat.
All the fun starts again. And that's why I love puppies so much, because they're so susceptible to that behavior. Like you could get older dogs, but like puppies just have food drive inherently because they're growing. So they always want food. So you could feed them. I feed all dogs by hand, like I told you before. But puppies are always ready to work. So it's so easy to condition them to be like, oh, that was a good response. Here's a bunch of food. Or if they like toys, you know, like my Malinois, I'd always tell you, like, she'd prefer a ball over food any day of the week. So in that case, I use her ball as enjoyment. And she's like, oh, that's cool. Every time I do what dad likes or follow those commands, I get the ball from him.
Mm-hmm.
It really is pretty simple, but like we talked about, like everybody tries to make it seem like we're solving equations that are unsolvable. It really is just rewarding right behaviors, and a lot of it's ignoring bad behaviors. Now, that comes with the caveat of like, if my dog's barking at somebody nonstop, I'm going to give him a couple like, hey, don't do that, or like quick, I hate to say like corrections because it's not true. You're basically just annoying the shit out of them through a leash, giving them little pops.
Right.
And then when they stop that behavior, I go right back to rewarding. Like, oh, now you're doing what I enjoy. Here's all this good stuff again. And then when they start barking at something again, they get annoyed. And there are dogs, like, again, that's puppy stuff, right? But as we get older, like I told you, I deal with dogs that bite people. So there is a time where I'm like, okay, I got to keep you away from me. And that's your punishment for that. But as soon as you stop trying to bite me, I'll start feeding you again. And dogs do know that stuff. It's pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. In that video where you're getting her to recognize, you know, the marker, you also had that little, I noticed that little kind of automated rolling ball on the floor. Was that intentionally there?
For those videos, I started and I noticed it was there. So I was like, whatever. She's not paying attention.
I just didn't know if it was like, let me introduce a distraction while you're trying and get you to do what I want you to do in the midst of other things going on.
And that was perfect. That's exactly why I left it there. Like I noticed she wasn't. But if that was too distracting, especially since she's a puppy, I would have moved it. And like, okay, let's start back to where you enjoy interacting with me. I think that's the biggest mistake too. Like we take out this puppy on the outdoor world and a lot of people get upset. Like, oh man, my puppy's not paying attention to me? I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't pay attention to you either. You're not that much fun. But like also too, you just brought me out into nature and there's all these million other things. So that goes back to touching on like, that's why I try to make myself fun. And then I'll introduce stuff like that. And you could see in that video, which is great to point out, that she didn't even care about that ball.
Not really. I mean, I think there was like one time she went over there and looked at it for just a second, smelled it, and then was back to.
Right. And in that time I was like, yeah, go investigate that ball, whatever. But as soon as she came back to me, I was like, the fun starts again.
Here's a reward.
Right. And then she realized like, okay, that's just kind of an inanimate, I can't speak.
It happens.
Just an object that has no meaning. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Inanimate
object.
Yeah. If I could speak, that would be great.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. So I don't know how many, I know, you know, you've trained quite a few dogs. How often do you get puppies? Is it rare that people bring you puppies?
I get puppies here and there, but like definitely not as much as I get dogs with problems, but that's kind of expected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean,
but like you said,
I think it's always great to do the training as puppies. Like
you're working with raw material. You're not having to try and see if we can course correct like 6 years of bad behavior that's just kind of ingrained.
Yeah.
And try and work. That's got to be hard.
I mean, it is, but it's way easier with dogs than it is with humans. That's why
sure.
Human training is different Because dogs, we could change their environment and they have no control over it.
Right.
So that's why, but it is great to like, especially dogs with really bad behavior, you definitely have to have them for longer. Whereas like you just said, the raw puppy coming to me is like so easy because like they're like, oh, this is just how life is. You know,
Yeah.
I enjoy good things, and then people don't pay attention to me when I do bad things. And in their world, like dogs are always just trying to get attention,
Yeah.
just like a little kid. But if you kind of just steer them in the right path, it's really easy to do from a puppy age.
I sent you a list of things that were must-haves in this dog, and I try to think of a lot in what we wanted because obviously my wife has certain needs that other people don't. But the more I looked at the list, I was looking at it and saying, these are generally things you would train into a dog anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it really mattered much.
Yeah.
Just for sake of the show, I'll say what they were. But this dog absolutely has to stay. When it's told to stay, it has to until it's released from that position because because Jennifer has difficulty walking. Like it has to wait until she can get in and out of a doorway and let her finish because we can't have her feet getting tangled up, or it must stay at the top or the bottom of the stairs until Jennifer's finished making that climb or descent, because that could be a really bad scenario. Dog gets in the way. But I'm like, but that's something you would teach a dog anyway. And then I thought, yeah, it can't jump up on her because she has balance issues. All right, that's something you would teach a dog anyway. So I'm just trying to think about, and walking, like you addressed earlier in the episode, or we talked about it even before we started. But it's like if you're training a dog to walk on the leash and it gets in your way, you're just going to keep walking.
Yeah,
and you're going to walk right into the dog.
Right, I'm not going to kick it or anything. I'm just going to keep walking.
But that's like so important that like this dog cannot walk in her way.
Right.
Because of her, she'll fall.
And I totally get like there are people that get puppies and they try to avoid like moving them out of their way. You know what I mean? Like just general being a nice human tells me that I should walk around that dog and not run it over, basically. But you're
letting the dog be the boss.
Yeah, then you're basically telling the dog it's okay to cut me off and get in my footpath, and which it's not. And it's more so for the dog's safety than anything, really, especially for your wife, because if she falls over, then she falls on the dog, then the dog gets more hurt, and then everybody's going to be like, well, what happened? So to me, I've just learned walking with dogs, like their job is to get out of my way. If I'm walking towards something, like just move. It's not that hard.
Just get off the tracks when the train's coming through, bro.
In all reality, and like, I don't know, that's too bad. Like that's something that I don't deal with dogs. When they're in my way, they're going to move.
Yeah.
But when you have multiple dogs in your house all the time, you kind of don't have any other choice either,
Mm-hmm.
Like when I have 4 dogs in my house, I can't go around all of them.
Right.
Like I got to get through this one little path, buddy. You got to move, and they just learn.
Yeah. Well, they have to. I mean, it's not their house. This is your house.
But I mean, you don't have any idea how many times I go teach a lesson and they're like, they always get in my way. And I'm like, well, what do you guys do? Well, we go around them. I'm like, that's exactly why the dog is getting in your way repeatedly.
Because he thinks he can go wherever he wants to go.
Yeah.
Well, no, he doesn't think it. He knows it because
he trained you to walk around him.
Every time he goes wherever, you have to walk around him. So he thinks he's alpha dog.
Yeah. Which even like, I don't know, alpha is just...
or just, you understand what I'm saying.
Like, that's like...
he thinks he's leader of the pack here.
Right, or that would be like me and you standing in the kitchen and I see you coming and I just stand there. Be like, no, I'm not going to get out of your way.
Or run you over, dude.
Yeah, it's just not... That's rude. Like if I see you're on a mission to get somewhere, even if I'm out in public, I'm going to move out of your way.
Right.
Like, cross the road when I see somebody's in a hurry. But dogs don't, like people just don't understand that like it's not mean. It's just human nature, and that has to be taught at some point. Like, I don't know. It's weird to me that I think it's funny when it comes to that. Like that would be literally like if you were walking down the sidewalk and I just stood right in front of you and was like, no, go around. First of all, that's super arrogant behavior, but like, I don't know. To me, it's so easy to deal with that. And I just continue to walk that dogs is just, And they really learn to like, okay, he's coming. Let me move out of the way real quick, and I could go back to doing whatever I want.
Yeah.
So to me, that's super funny.
It is funny, but there's like you said, I think we overcomplicate matters in our head
Yeah, and I
about
think a
how we
lot of
should.
people would even say like, that's so mean. How could you do that? And I'm like, but if you put it in the perspective that we just went to, like, it's not mean. It would be more mean for that dog to literally look at you and be like, find your own way. That's rude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, that's funny. So we've got Poppi. You've had her what, a week now? I think so. Last Friday we dropped her off, or was it 2 Fridays ago?
I think it was only like a week
A
ago.
week ago or so.
So yeah.
And so it's a 6-week training program. And of course, considering, some of the other things we might want out of her, who knows, that we might talk about some extra time, or
Yeah, right now I'm just focused on all the basic obedience and like advanced obedience. Then if we need other time outside of that, yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to say, if somebody's listening to this podcast and has a dog that they want trained, like, what is it that you try to accomplish in a 6-week time span with the dog?
So typically everything is 4 weeks through my program. The reason I wanted 6 weeks is because we want her to have a little bit extra.
Okay.
And she's a puppy. So like touching base on like how you said to me, and the reason why I say it's still available for a puppy is like when you say stay, it needs to stay. You're not being unreasonable. Like you're not like stay for an hour and we'll be back to get you.
Right.
Right. Like it's stay so I could walk down the stairs and then you could come down the stairs after your wife.
Yeah.
So like that stuff is reasonable to me to be like,
sure,
okay,
I need you here for like 20 seconds. Just
now that being said, if she wasn't a puppy, if she was an older dog, I would make her stay for like 40 minutes. But I'm always realistic too, and like I think this is why I'm different from other trainers, is because you can do that stuff, but in my own eyes, it's super unfair for me to ask a dog to stay in the same spot for an hour.
Yeah.
And do nothing.
Sure.
Like, first of all, what's the purpose of that? Second of all, I always tell people, and I always joke about it, like I told you, like take your kids to Disney World and be like, don't touch shit for like an hour. Like it's super unreasonable to expect that from a dog that, like obviously you could get to, where they're doing obedience competitions and my personal dogs will do that stuff. But even like there, it's for training purposes. It's not for any realistic life purpose of you're going to be stuck in a down for an hour. Like, and I train people and they're like, well, can the dog stay on place for like 4 hours? I'm like, at that point, I'm just going to put my dog in a crate, like my own personal dog, or they're going to go in a bedroom or whatever.
Why would you need that?
Like I said, like people want to take their dog out and just have it sit somewhere like an ornament for hours. Well,
That makes no sense.
Well, people don't make sense.
I mean, like if you live, maybe if you.
That's why I like dogs.
Because they make sense?
Yeah, like they're always consistent. They want, I don't know.
We just, because we are a different creature in our wants, our schemes, our plans, our angles, all that. Like dogs don't have that.
No, and that is, I think I talked to you about this and I thought it was really funny and I always tell people constantly, like dogs, even my own personal dogs, like they have an attachment to me because I provide for them. But like if I brought Jet over here and you started feeding her, she would never think about me again until I showed back up.
Hot mic take right here.
And she'd be like, oh, well, this dude's feeding me now, so I don't need you ever. Right? And I think that's really hard for humans to grasp, that your dog literally doesn't care about you. Like, as far as they don't form attachments like we do. They're just like, hey, this guy came, he left. I got this new owner. They feed me. Great. Like I get bored in trains all the time. I'm like, is my dog going to miss me? And I'm like, as soon as your vehicle leaves my driveway and I start feeding this dog, there's 0% chance that dog is going to have any thoughts of you the rest of the time it's with me. Now, that being said, like if a dog smells something that smells like its owner, like a blanket, it'll spike up that dopamine. But if I replace all that and I become way more fun, they're going to be like, I'll just stay with this guy.
Yeah.
So it really is just a matter of like, humans can go out and do all that on their own and perform and like get their own, you know what I mean? They could surround themselves with a group of people, where dogs are just very malleable to what is given to them. And as soon as you become fun and exciting to a dog, which is pretty easy to do with toys and treats and food, they're like, okay, we got our buddy. We don't go against what he does. We're kind of cool. He provides for us. And whereas like you might provide for somebody, like good example is I think a lot of people's kids like go out and they're like, I'm 18. I don't need you anymore, dad. Right. And then you're kind of like, okay, good luck.
You don't
The only
need me
difference is
until you do.
yeah. And then they'll turn around and admit that,
Uh-huh.
man, I messed up. Hopefully.
Sure.
Or like a dog, just you don't ever have to experience that, because they're like, oh, why would I? Basically, they do appreciate what you're giving them. Why would I go out and look for a different home if you're giving me everything I already have?
Right.
Whereas humans, you could give them everything and then they'll still think there's an option of like, maybe there's something better out there.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
there's not.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Like, see you in a couple of years.
Yeah. So anyway, we kind of ran a rabbit trail there. The original question is like, what are you trying to accomplish there in the 4 weeks that you when somebody brings you a dog?
Just good, solid, like general obedience. You know, a lot of people don't want their dogs jumping, so I always go with no jumping. How to greet strangers, which in my opinion as a dog trainer is to not greet people. Like they'll be friendly with everybody, but they don't care. They're very neutral towards everything that's going on around.
So you when you're training a dog, yeah, I mean your typical dog, when somebody new comes to the house, stand up, the tail starts going, they want to go over there, they want to smell. You want the dog to just
just everything should be a neutral process. They could be happy, they could be excited, but they still have to not go over and jump and act like a crazy imbecile, you know?
right.
And especially when it comes to like service dogs, which is generally how I train pets, sort of in the same way I would train a service dog. Because I really want my dogs, like, you know, that my personal dogs,
Yeah.
I want them to think that I'm the only person that exists on this world. Because you are basically just, you know, you're an addition to me and you help me with stuff. But like at the end of the day, I want my dog, when somebody else is petting it and I call its name, I want it to run back to me to be like, oh, that's the guy who always gives me the good stuff. Right. So like in your wife's case, especially, is that dog's job as a service dog is to always pay attention to her. And that is its sole purpose,
Right.
is to give her attention and give her love. And that's really what I try to accomplish in the 4 weeks, is just kind of a better bond, like building that bond, which is love and connection of like, hey, like, you know, you do what I want and I provide you all this great stuff. And then when you don't do something, nothing really bad happens, but you just kind of lose all that fun and I become a statue. So, you know, like we discussed, really easy, but like come, sit, place, down, and heel are really normal for every board and train program. So I give them those commands. But outside of that, I'm just looking for like the good, like, okay, that's a dog that I just enjoy being around, you know, like, or again, when people come over my house, like I still want my dog to come sit next to me and not be like, Dad doesn't give me any attention, so I'm going to go get it from somebody else. And that's like the difference, is like kind of what you asked to spin on that, is some people might come over and be like, well, why isn't your dog so happy when people come through the door? And it's because like she already has all her fulfillment and her happiness with me. So who cares who comes and goes? In all reality is what I'm trying to get dogs to be like. I think all those spikes and up and down is not good for a dog.
Yeah.
Clearly they're, you know, if somebody's coming over and it's the best 20 minutes of their life, like clearly I didn't do something right to provide that happiness, you know?
Sure. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you want your dog to see you as this is the good life, no matter who else comes to visit this house. I know that, yeah, I'm rewarded here. I'm taken care of here. I have my structure here. I have, all the stuff. You know, in a situation like what we have, where I really ultimately want to get Poppi to the level of like a service dog, and there's like we have, I guess, in our country, 3 different levels of dogs. We have just your pet dog. The number one, that's the bottom line. We have this, well, maybe 4, right? There's a pet dog, and then you know, I've done some research and some thinking. Then there's like the emotional support dog, Yeah, but um, there is, and generally speaking, like anybody could say just because they're having a hard time and their dog's their friend and this is my emotional friend, and
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing from a legit emotional support animal that is taken to like uh old folks homes, children with disabilities
Yeah, that's more
places.
like a
That's an
therapy
emotion, right?
therapy.
A serious real therapy dog, versus just your my llama is my
Yeah,
emotional support animal.
emotional support animal where you get that so you could get like free housing and use it to your advantage. Sure.
Yeah. And then there are dogs that are like actual service dogs that, some of them are medical because, I mean, they can, for whatever reason, they have the senses, they can predict that a seizure's coming or whatever.
Yep. Which is really cool, but that's all through scent work.
Really?
Everything is smelling it. Is basically they're
They
smelling
can
you.
smell a seizure.
Yeah.
Coming.
Because
there's chemical
fluctuates.
issues happening.
Yep, and they're trained on that particular scent to alert it as soon as that fluctuation. So it's the same thing as like a diabetic alert dog. They smell the blood sugar and they're like, "Oh, we need to get that fixed."
That's wild, dude.
It's really cool.
I mean, obviously, the animal kingdom is a wild place, and there's such amazing abilities out there that a dog can smell your blood sugar.
Yeah, that's a lot of like when I deal with aggressive and reactive dogs, and I know we talked about this outside of that, but like they sense everything about us. Like 24/7, they know like if you're in a bad mood or a good mood, and most of that's from smell and scent on their side. They literally like if you're out and you're nervous, they're like, there's something wrong because like they smell your endorphins and your hormones and everything else inside you. They smell that change. And then they're like, this is odd. Something's off.
Something's wrong.
So they always know that. So like particularly too, just to touch on that, when I do get aggressive or reactive dogs, which are aggressive and reactive are basically all dogs are reactive, just like humans. Like fear is the root of all evil for us. Fear is everything why dogs are biting, why they're fighting, because they're trapped into a place and then they get back into a corner. But like that same thing is like learned through humans, right? So I always tell people like if you're out at night and you're afraid, your dog is going to pick up on that really quick and they're going to start acting like something's off. Maybe I should start acting weird. So it's really easy to like transfer all.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because if your dog senses that you're insecure,
yeah,
then he's not secure because you're his security.
Right. And he's like, why are you acting weird? Should I be acting weird? Right. And that's really true, but like that's why everything goes right down a leash. Like immediately, like your emotions, if you're having a bad day, your dog's most likely going to have that bad day with you. And it's not even anything you could do to prevent it, which is crazy.
Well, I know that like animals, dogs that are service dogs are supposed to be trained to actually do things, like we said, whether it's a medical thing or to actually open doors for you or retrieve, pick things up.
Right.
You're like.
Or like the walking assistance.
Or walking assistance. Like, you obviously, strangely enough, though, from what I understand after looking around, there's no official agency or oversight that puts a service dog through a series or whatever and is like, yeah, this is signed off on as a service dog.
I think I told you about that. Like all that stuff's crap.
Well, like, so basically, like, there's no
actual certification.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. So, like, if you want to take your dog into a restaurant, now they can ask questions.
Right.
And obviously service dogs do fall under ADA law.
Yep.
But obviously, if you were to take your dog into a restaurant, it would be quickly seen whether or not it was actually a service dog.
Yeah, and that's mostly like, there are people out there that say, like, my dog's a service dog. Biggest tells are that it's barking.
Right.
Reacting at stuff. Like, it's not a service dog. Sorry.
Next choice. I mean, if your dog is trying to eat the double cheeseburger that the waiter's bringing by, it's not a service dog.
Exactly. Because
it has to be.
You can tell, and unfortunately, again, like people are going to try to get dogs that don't belong in certain places. Like, no, he's a service dog. Like, but service dogs are just really well trained. Like,
it's just a really well trained dog.
Yeah, that's really all it is, and it has a job of paying attention to you all the time. instead
See,
of
because
worrying about the surroundings of the world.
that's really where I want to get Poppy to, because I don't want, and I told my wife, and I told you whenever I came by the other day and dropped her off and brought the food back, like, number one, I didn't even want a dog, as you know, but here we are. Here we are with a dog.
Sometimes you got to make exceptions, Chris.
I did.
Tell you, I know.
I did. I made an exception for the missus. But if we're going to do this, we're going to do it the right way, which is number one, because I said for her physical safety, I cannot have accidents with this dog. So we're getting it immediately trained.
Yeah.
Number two, because of where I want this dog to be, I want this to be the kind of dog for her that we can take it with us everywhere we go.
Yeah.
I want to take it to the support groups we go to. I'd really like to take it to the rehabs we go to, when we go out to wherever it is we go. I want to be able to take this dog, but that means a high level of training.
Yeah, she's just got to be, like I said, and that's where, like, the pet dog, or like you asked me what I try to do, is really I just try to get dogs to focus on their owner. That's all it is like the more focus that she has on your wife, right, the less she's going to care about all the stuff that's going on at all those meetings, all those things that you got to go to. So that way she's just going to be like, oh, I just stare at mom and mom will just give me rewards randomly. And she's kind of content with that. And it's awesome for her to be involved in that. But at the end, like, she won't get in the way. She won't annoy people. That's really all it is. And that high level of training is funny to me because, like, that's how I just train all dogs now. Like, all my dogs are trained to pay attention to me. And it's not in a selfish way. It's just more so like that's how you get a good reward system. They love interacting with me. And you know that firsthand. Like, Jet just stares at me like all day long. And she's like, what's going to happen next? Is dad going to throw us a ball? But that's just, to me, it's general service dog training, but at the same time, creating that neutrality.
Well, I mean, I guess like all the training you're putting into it is the base.
Yeah. It's the base of a dog. It's the being.
Yeah.
Or learning how to exist in.
So to get to service dog level, what is it? It's just more the same over a longer period of time where it gets ingrained deeper? Or
yeah, or I actually, so in order for her to be a service dog, she has to have a task.
Right, she has to perform a function.
Yeah, which would, like, for me and your wife, probably one of the tasks that I'll teach her is deep pressure therapy, which is like, so she'll come and put a paw on her anytime she's stressed out. It could be
anytime she's stressed.
Yeah, which is super
simple. Not
simple.
the dog, but the missus.
Yeah, yeah. So it's super simple to teach that, though. It's all reward based. Or like,
how does she know? How will the dog know when she's stressed?
She will understand by hanging out with her that your wife is having a hard time. Like we just talked about, her emotions are going to fluctuate and she's going to smell something. And in her mind, you're like, okay, well, and that applies to me. Like when I'm living with her and she's staying with me, if I'm having a bad day and I'm upset and she runs over to me and puts her paw on me, I got to love the crap out of her. I'm like, yeah, that's a good response. Good job, puppy. Thank you for coming to comfort me. Right. And then she just learns that, like, through my emotions, even, because it's the same response my body has as your wife. The same dopamine crashes and flex. Like, so she's like, maybe I'll try that response with mom, which is your wife. In that case, all she's got to do is pet her.
Right.
You're like, that was a good choice. And then from now on, that's going to transfer right over and be like, okay, when she's having this emotion, I go do that for her. She really likes that and I get attention. So they're really, it's a win-win reward too. Like, even the diabetic dogs and stuff, they're not doing it because that specific, they'll smell that on anybody, but because they're trained to that certain scent, all they're doing it for and they're alerting for is to get a reward out of you. And that reward is food or pets or, whatever comes after.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because she is stressed. Anybody in her position would be stressed. Heck, I'm stressed.
Right. Or when she can't, like, get out certain words and she probably gets frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I could see it just in a small, she's like, man, I need to find this. Where that dog could come over and be like, you're struggling. Here's a little bit of like, hey, I love you, mom.
Yeah.
Which is really what again, like I said, dogs don't love you, but they do learn our emotions. They learn how to comfort you. But just like a human, if you gave them nothing back ever, they'll just find somebody new to give them comfort.
Well, and again, I mean, we've just circled back to the exact reason she wants a dog.
Right. Comfort.
Right.
comfort. And
Because even in a human relationship, like as another human being, in all the load that I'm carrying, there's only so much I can tolerate.
which is why it's funny too to me is that dog is going to become a service dog almost to you without you realizing it, because you're going
Yeah,
to get stressed and she's going to come over and be like, I got you,
exactly.
Dad.
Yeah, but there's only so much I as a human being can handle. Like, you know, uh, I'm carrying a lot, and it's not a complaint, but it's just a reality. I'm carrying a lot here, and sometimes when she gets stressed out, um, and I by and large, I mean, I keep my cool because it doesn't do her any good for me to get
Yeah.
out of control, Um, so just to have this dog, and a dog, I mean, it senses a lot of things, but obviously it doesn't know things are messed up,
Yeah.
like we do,
Right.
and so
You don't understand arguments or why somebody, yeah.
yeah, it has no idea. And so when she's stressed out that this dog goes to give her comfort, helps me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ultimately, it helps me.
Yeah,
and it
it'll
helps
help her like kind of touch base a little bit. And that's what I tell people. Like for me, why I love having Jet around is because she is a Malinois. She's trained for a little bit of, play bite work. We don't do anything real.
Yeah.
But like having her around, being a previous corrections officer and like prison guard, makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Like people aren't just going to approach me and come up behind me or sneak up on me because she's there to always watch.
Yeah.
It's like just that little bit of comfort makes me feel more comfortable. So that's why like the service dog stuff, that's where I get a little weird, because that to me in itself is a service. Like having Blue with me as somebody who, people could run up and stab you. He's a pretty good deterrent.
Yeah, not if Blue's around or Jet.
That's what I mean. They're very good deterrents. And that makes me have the ability to go out and not worry as much mentally.
Yeah.
So in that case, like that's where I get off of like my service dogs are there for PTSD support.
Yeah.
Now, do they have a task? Like Jet will give me hugs. And she does. She annoys the crap out of me because she's like, you're stressed. Let me come up and like put my paws on you. Blue does the same thing, but that's all just from hanging out with me, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I could see the stress when she told me she wanted a dog, and we finally got around to it. And I finally told her, all right, look, if you want a dog, it's fine. We'll get a dog. And so we visited some dogs at the Pickens County Animal Rescue or Shelter. I don't remember which one it was. I was not impressed by these dogs. And I mean, for obvious reasons, things that you said, like who knows how many times these dogs have been shuffled from place to place to place
By no fault of their own.
by no
the hard part.
For whatever reason, and they've been in these kennels with all these other dogs, and dogs have been barking, and there's all kinds of dog trauma going on, and so it's like, that's a gamble taking that dog into your house and then handing them off to a trainer with everything that they've got to work on. But like the very first dog they brought out to see her, like the tears immediately when this dog
For
came
her?
for Jennifer. Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah.
Makes it worth it.
Well, I mean, I knew she wanted it. I agreed to it. And there's this emotional reaction. It's like, okay, yeah, she needs.
And that's, I think, like the
She
coolest
needs-
thing about dogs is what you just touched on is like they don't understand all the yelling and arguing, whatever. Their number one thing is nonverbal communication. So like for somebody like her who struggles to talk or share her feelings, it's really nice to have something like that's just there and knows. Like as humans, we could kind of learn somebody's emotions and try to fit, but like that's dog's second nature. They smell that she's upset and they're there for her to give her that comfort, which I know you're good at. Like I know she's upset, you go over and give her a hug, whatever. But like sometimes we miss little cues, and dogs are great at never missing anything.
Yeah.
Or there's sometimes where she might not want to tell you, like, Chris pissed me off today.
Yeah.
So that dog is there to step in and be like, hey, I'll come and get some pets for you. And it might not even be that you did anything horrible. It's just that she doesn't want to tell you because it's something that bothered her, that maybe it's not a big deal. Like, it wasn't really something worth bringing up, but like she's still upset about it, and vice versa. Like I might get upset throughout the day and like might be at something where I was stuck in traffic and it's not really worth telling anybody about, but my dog will come over and be like, I got you, buddy. Put a little paw on you,
Yeah.
So little stuff like that is why I think dogs are really cool at emotional support, because like might not be a big deal, but like it's still there to be like, I understand why you're angry
Mm-hmm.
or upset or sad, and they're always there. They're super susceptible to those scents, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think we touched on that like at some point, where humans too, like for whatever reason, sometimes when somebody does try to comfort you when you're upset, you get mad at a human. You're like, I don't want to be comforted right now. Just leave me alone. But like, it's really hard to do that to a dog who just comes up and puts its paw on you.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that, there are times when she's frustrated and I go to comfort her, give her a hug. She doesn't want it.
Exactly.
She doesn't. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I was thinking she's not going to do that to the dog.
Most times not.
Not, yeah.
There's times like I told you before when I'm really like, maybe not even just, but like having not a great day, and Jet just annoys the crap out of me because she wants to be next to me constantly. And I'm like, all right. But the same thing applies though, but she always comes back. And then the third time I'm like, all right, I'll take that hug now. Whereas like us as humans, we're just like, okay, we got told no once, like I'm going to go give her space, which is nice. But those dogs are just consistent, like Jet will leave me alone for like 20 minutes, be like, all right, I'm going to try to give him another hug. Whereas like humans are like, I'll wait till she asks me for a hug now.
Yeah.
So they just know like persistence is there
Yeah.
for them, you know. To me, that's something that's different. And also too, it's very hard to get, again, mad at something that never does anything wrong. Like if it's well trained and it's always there to do the right thing, like how can you get mad at it,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you could get mad at humans because they're making mistakes.
Yeah, because they're stupid.
Yeah.
So how do we handle when we get there, man? And this can be about the end of dogs if you want. We can move on to something else. But, how do you typically do the transition from training back to owner? Yeah, how does that work?
So I do like a handoff, and basically what it is like we'll get together and we'll do 4 sessions that are, I basically say like an hour long, just because in my experience, people's attention span doesn't go past like 30 minutes of me telling them everything they want to learn about dogs. Cause I think you know this by now, but I could tell you everything about dogs, but then somebody that's not totally like me about dogs is going to be like, all right, I've heard enough out of you about dogs. Like, let's move on to something else. So I try to do 4 sessions where it's like hour each time. And I bring her back and be like, hey, this is how you're going to live with her. Bring her back to your house, do this stuff for a week straight. Let me know how things go. And then bring her back and touch on anything you think we need to brush up on. And I'll teach you how that applies the next time. So it's 4 hour-long sessions, giving her back basically and saying like, okay, we got to work on this time. Do that for a week. Let me know how it goes and I'll give you more homework. And then throughout there, after like, not just for you because you're my friend, but for everybody I ever train their dog, like for life, I'll give them basically like troubleshooting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, if something happens, I'll come to your house directly and teach you why that happened, or because it's impossible for me to cover every little behavior
Well, sure.
dogs. And
Yeah, I was going to say, like, once we get Poppi home, I mean, obviously, and of course, I'm not educated on dogs like you are, so I just feel a Poppi being an adolescent. There's pluses there. I don't know if there's negatives there too. Like when it comes to
but like
continuing,
kind of what we touch base on though is like now that she's got that great, awesome base, and then even those little reward systems, that's really what I'm going to teach you the most of, is how to reward good behavior and how to punish, if you will, in a way, the bad behavior, which is mostly just ignoring a lot of stuff, but giving little corrections here and there. Basically just teaching you how to live with them is the biggest thing, and then like,
yeah. I think if you just take a minute and think about it, basically what you said is just to reward good stuff and to ignore bad stuff.
yeah.
And then once they come back around, you can reward that. Just like when she was a bit nervous, obviously, whenever we dropped her at your house. She had come from the foster home. into our home, and then that afternoon went to a different home with different people. So we've got like multiple transits, and we took her to my mom and dad's house to introduce her in the middle of all that. So we've got 3 different houses all in one day and a bunch of different people, and she's kind of nervous. And Della is down there. Oh, it's okay,
Right.
it's okay, petting her, and you're like, look, just some human education here. What you're doing is teaching the dog that when it's acting all nervous, it gets attention.
Right. Yeah. So it's basically like this is the proper response to the.
So now I'm just going to have this like nervous dog all the time because it thinks if I act nervous, I get petting.
Right. And that's exactly how, and that's why I point that stuff out is like, okay, so the second a dog hears fireworks, usually like a puppy, right? It's going to hear that noise. And most people are immediately going to go to like, oh, don't worry about it, buddy. It's okay. Like if you just ignore it and act like nothing happened, that dog will have the same response. Yep. Okay. That's just normal. Like, but it's our human emotions that really destroy that puppy, like living, right? Like if some loud noise falls and every time I make a big deal out of it, that puppy's going to be like, oh shit, loud noises are horrendous activity and I'm nervous. Whereas like for me, I'll on purpose, and you'll see this at some point, like start slamming things around or drop stuff on the floor. And the response I'm looking for is her to be curious and go and be like, what was that? And that's
Right.
when I'll start to reward the behavior. Like, good job investigating what was perceived
Not
as
to be
scary.
afraid of.
Right. There's no reason to be afraid of inanimate objects. Can't say that word. Doesn't like me today. But yeah, to like just reward all that curiosity of a puppy is huge instead of like trying to put it in a protective bubble that we have, like we're always scared of stuff. So we try to put that on them, but like they shouldn't be afraid of it. It's like seeing a spider, or one of the biggest things that I tell people, which I think is hilarious. So I know you got that puppy from a foster, but like one thing I noticed, which is funny to me, is I'm like, whoever had her, I'm not going to say any names, before probably set off a fire alarm with their cooking at some point. Because as soon as your puppy heard the sizzling on the stove, it like ran for its life and
Really?
tried to get like, save me from whatever's about to go down. And the reason I know that is because like I learned that like when I set off the fire alarm, I'm like, son of like, damn it. Like I'm not even burning anything, just
Dude,
make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
But dogs pick up on that and they're like, wait, like, should I be nervous and scared? Like,
right.
so like now I need to reverse that to like the fire alarm goes off and I need to be calm in those situations.
Right.
I can't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, the fire alarm in that guest room right behind you, which is close to the kitchen, is so dadgum sensitive, man.
Yeah.
Like you open the oven for something and
Goes off.
the tiniest wisp of smoke comes out and it's like, your house is on fire.
Yeah, and then you probably get mad. You're like, shut that stupid alarm off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
But the funny
calmly just go get the towel and do the thing.
Well, hopefully by the time I get her back to you, I try not to set the fire alarm off too much, but like, yeah, when I'm cooking and stuff, that response should hopefully be like, oh, fire alarm happened, no big deal.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, dude, the whole like New Year's Eve, 4th of July, like if you're in part of any like neighborhood, like I am, Facebook groups and all this stuff, people, I'm like, number one, you're all a bunch of idiots. Like people are complaining about fireworks and, why is this so late? And people got to get up and go to work the next day and worried about my roof getting caught on fire. And people have dogs and animals and dogs are traumatized. And I've got to give my dog this calming pills. And I'm like, number one, dude, there's 363 days a year we don't do this.
Yeah. One day is okay.
We do it twice a year, New Year's Eve and and 4th of July. That's it.
The craziest part about that, like when it comes to those holidays, when I do have dogs at my house, is I just put them in a crate. And yeah, they might get a little anxious or whatever, but like once they realize without human like intervening of petting them and rewarding them for being scared, and they just have to sit in a crate and nothing bad happens to them, right? Like clearly no firework is going off in their crate.
Right.
And they literally just learn that. And after that, they're like, oh, okay, noises are just noises.
Mm-hmm.
Without mom telling me that, like,
so a dog
that's I hear is scary.
A dog that's freaked out over fireworks is by and large because the owner didn't properly deal with the situation.
Yeah, they probably comfort it in a situation that doesn't necessarily need comforting. Like just because your dog looked at you like, oh, is that bad? Who cares? Like fireworks don't hurt me. So
Right.
all my dogs are not afraid of fireworks simply because I don't care about fireworks. Or like I am not your normal person where like I get upset. And that's usually the people that have dogs. Like to call them out directly is like the people that hate fireworks themselves are usually the people with dogs that hate fireworks. Because they're like, oh, I'm nervous. And then the dog comes and comforts them and then they pet it. And it's just basically like a cycle of keeping bad behavior going.
Yeah.
Like you're nervous, I'm nervous. Let's all be scared together of fireworks. Where if you just ignore that initial, like, especially with puppies, that's why I love puppies. Like some big bang goes off. And instead of me comforting them or like telling them like acting all weird towards them, I just ignore it. And then when they go back about doing their business, then I'll throw a bunch of kibble on the ground. They're like, oh, okay, life is normal.
Right.
Or even to start that out, like when I get puppies, for example, I fed your dog and feed your dog out of like a tin garbage can lid. So like inherently that thing is going to make noise,
Mm-hmm.
but like you still want to eat. So like you got to deal with the noise. And then eventually that same noise doesn't have any like bad, like, oh, okay, well, that's just what happens when I eat. So
Yeah.
we're cool now.
Nice.
It's really a lot of it's just ignoring,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I was going to touch on too, to say like the reactive dogs. And even like some people don't realize it because they think they're punishing their dog, but like when their dog barks at somebody and you're like, no, don't do that, buddy. But the dog has no concept of what no means. So really, I'm still giving the dog attention for barking at somebody. Basically learns like, okay, that's the good behavior. Because a no without any attachment, again, because they're not verbal creatures.
Right.
Now, that's why I teach the no the way I do. Because when I teach no, to them, it means something. There's a loss of fun. Or there might be a leash pop, like, no, leash pop. And then they're like, oh, okay, no is not the greatest thing. And then that behavior stops, and then I can start to reward when they give a right behavior. So that's the extent of like correcting stuff that I go
Mm-hmm.
to. But to me, it's just funny that like all that reactivity is from a human. Like, oh, it barked at somebody, I'm going to punish it by saying the word no, but there's no action for that no. So you're just talking to your dog while it's barking at you.
You're just saying no to a dog that doesn't understand
Right.
English.
And a lot of people are, you see it, like they're going to grab their dog and like push them away or try to like shove them out of the way. And all that stuff is basically to your dog. They're like, oh, you're patting me for,
That's playtime.
yeah, this is great. Like, I'm going to keep reacting. And all that does is build up over time. And that's when you get a dog that finally gets the confidence to bite somebody because they're like, okay, well, I'm going to try my best to, and all that stuff. Like the more fear you put into somebody, the more they're going to be susceptible to that.
Yeah.
Whereas like, that's a big reason why when I take dogs and that's why I do that with every dog, his neutrality is the key to everything. If they're just neutral about everything, nothing can be scary. Everything's pretty good. As much as we don't want to admit that as humans, like just being at a baseline of neutral is the best I think that you could have as a human. You're going to run into things that you enjoy and that's cool. But like most of life is just kind of coasting around it, like being unbothered,
Mm-hmm.
not being stressed all the time or not being extremely happy or upset. You're just,
Yeah.
I'm just, oh, okay. I'm having a good day,
Yeah.
where nothing goes wrong. Like, but
Well, all of that being said, and I appreciate all the insights about dogs and everything, and hopefully somebody's listening to this podcast who has a dog that needs to be trained. And like I said at the beginning of the show, like if I ever got a dog, Sean's my guy, and here we are. So all that being said, like I am looking forward to the end of the training program and getting Poppi into the house and her being, by the way, Poppy's not a name I would have chosen, but it's number one, it's my wife's dog. Number two, it's easy for her to say. With
yeah,
her speech struggles.
Poppi. Yep.
That's 2 syllables. But
Oh, you're right. It is.
yeah. But it's easy for her to say.
You told me I can only use one syllable, and now you got her saying two syllables.
That's just the name. I have 1-syllable commands, which down, sit,
Yeah.
heel, play, stay. There, we're good. But she picked the name, but and I thought if I ever had a dog of my own, I'd probably get a Great Dane, which you said would be great for this situation. 'Cause
Especially like
they're
a
just,
walking assistance dog. Would
yeah,
be
just
awesome.
freaking huge. But I would name it Hightower.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be a great name for a Great Dane, Hightower.
it
Yeah.
would be.
But you said like Great Danes are freaking lazy and just like to hang out with their people.
What's funny is like
You know,
they have
just-
drive just like every other
Yeah.
dog, but because they're so big, like it's almost like getting a giant guy to move around for a little bit.
it doesn't last
I'm
long.
exhausted after
Yeah.
like 5 minutes. So that's why I like big dogs when it comes to like Blue's kind of that way. You know, like he'll play with you for like 20 minutes. Then he's like, all right, like I'm done with you. Let me go take a nap. And that's why I like big dogs when it
Yeah.
comes to low drive. Whereas like, but again, you could get a big dog too. Like a Cane Corso is meant to just be out there and be protective all the time, you know, like, so they have a job. It's just a matter of giving them what
Yeah.
they need to do.
So all that being said, I'm looking forward to
Seeing the training.
getting Poppi back to the house, going those 4 sessions with you, letting Jen get with the dog and you working with them, showing her what the dog has learned, and it'll be good, man.
Yeah.
It'll be a good
cool.
thing. So yeah, look, if you're
I
listening,
look forward to it too.
Yeah.
Because I want to see how it transitions and helps her. Like that's super cool to me.
yeah, and what you're talking about, it's going to be just super awesome, teaching her that just kind of, what did you call it? Like the stress recognition where she comes.
Deep pressure therapy is basically what it's called, but it could be anything.
Yeah.
A dog could come up and put its like Blue
Yeah.
by nature comes up and puts his head on my shoulder and just
But just teaching it to recognize, okay,
Her
we're the
emotional
stress
state.
point, here we go. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be good. So yeah, look, if you're listening and you've got a dog that needs some training, whether it's a puppy, whether it's a 5 years old or whatever it is, what's the best way for them to do it? Just send you a DM on Instagram or what?
Yeah. Yep. And then I have a website, jetlinecanine.com.
Okay.
And that's, you could go on there, fill out a little like inquiry box like that. It tells you all about the training, about what I've done, like my background a little bit.
Yeah.
And why I love dogs.
Well, if they're listening to this podcast, they've got a lot of information,
Yeah.
on your approach and how you handle it and what you do,
And like I told you, like
your
when-
philosophy.
for real, I want to probably upset a lot of people, but I want to release a whole video of this is how you train a puppy and just do it for free. Like give that to the community for free. I don't want anything for it because to me, I just want dogs to be good dogs. And like at the end of the day, to me, it's like I told you, like we're setting unrealistic expectations for dogs. Whereas I want dogs to be happy. So if they are trained, at least they could be off leash. They could run around. They could get some fulfillment instead of like somebody that gets a dog, never trains it, and it's on a 6-foot leash like its entire life.
Yeah, no, that's not going to work.
I'm like, that's
not good.
horrible. It's like putting a human in a box and just being like, be happy. It's just not fair.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I like training dogs so much. But that's why I want to share it for free too, so more people can give their dogs freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That makes your life easier, honestly. Like, again, touching on that, like you're not the biggest fan of dogs, but I guarantee, which is going to be funny to me, is you're like, man, this is the best thing ever because it's going to be easy. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a burden to your lifestyle or whatever. It's just
No, it's going to help. It's going to help. I will love the dog, I'm sure. And everybody's told
I
me.
think you're going to love the dog.
Yeah, everybody, like I've run into several people who's been told me, you know what? It's the person who didn't want the dog that the dog chooses. It's going to be your dog. The dog's in them. And I'm like,
And that's kind of true. Like I said, like I told you, my dad has always been that way. He's like, not a big, he was a mailman, so it makes sense. Right. But like dogs know that he doesn't. So they're trying to figure out like, why doesn't this dude just give me attention? They're literally like almost trying to figure it out. Like, is there something wrong with me? I'm not getting pet. But like, to me, that stuff's funny. Or they really will gravitate towards you because they're like, how do I get on this guy's good side? If that makes sense.
That's funny.
But unfortunately, I'm going to make you do stuff with your dog because that's how you get all the obedience to transfer to you. You can't just have a dog and it just comes from me and you do nothing with it. And then it's just going to, that's like part of the caveat of all people when they bring me their dogs. I'm super honest. Like, hey, I could do all this training for you, but if I bring your dog back and you don't make lifestyle changes or you don't do anything to reward your dog, or it's just going to go back to being the same dog it was. There's no magic. Like, I'm not programming robots.
Right.
I wish I was. then you'd always have a good dog. But like if you don't do the work on your end, which is really general stuff of like, hey, this is just how to live with a dog, it's going to be crazy. But I think you're going to love it.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
I'm just excited to see how much you like dogs.
Well, time will tell, my friend. Time will tell. At this point, let me just remind you this episode is brought to you by the Cigar Box, a mobile cigar bar experience on wheels. I want you to experience our custom-built teardrop-style trailer that is actually a functioning rolling humidor, perfect for weddings, corporate events, private events, golf tournaments, barbecue festivals, or whatever you have happening just in your backyard, you and the guys having a poker night or whatever. Visit me at mobilecigarbox.com to learn more. You can fill out the booking inquiry form there, and you can check me out on Instagram at mobilecigarbox. You can send me a DM if you'd like to talk about something that's coming up in the next few weeks or months of your life. But check it out, and we have a great time. And, man, I used to pull the cigar box around to a place you used to be at, and, man, that was fun for a while. And, of course, I know nothing's forever, and so – you know, we're on to, that was like in some of the early days that we met, but a lot has changed in your life. And of course, I know that you're not generally even a cigar smoker. I think you probably only smoke cigars when we're together.
Yeah. I think I touched on that, but like to touch on too, not to touch on your interjection of like advertising for your cigar box is the coolest thing about your whole thing is that I got a great friendship out of that for real. Like,
sure.
That's, I think, more important than your own business is like when you get invited places, like you get Chris along with his custom teardrop trailer, which Chris is just a good dude. Like that's how I know. And I'm like, okay. And that's how we became friends. But yeah, I don't really smoke cigars. And the only time I ever buy them is from you because you're a good person. Like I just told you that before this. So
sure.
Repeating, but like, I'm not going to go to a cigar place and buy cigars. Not that I don't enjoy them once in a while, but it's just not my first form of enjoyment. I'd rather do something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the biggest thing for me is the teardrop trailer is just an addition to who you are as a person.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
And everybody I talk to says that. Like those guys, I know you did the Britt Brothers thing for
yeah.
They're like, Chris is such a nice dude. And like I talked to them about all that stuff and they're like, yeah, he's a really good hearted person. And even to touch on that more, like I think I've told you this, but like a lot of people are probably not going to stick around in your situation. Like as hard as it is to deal with the tragedy of your wife, like going through something where you're a 100% caretaker is just like crazy to me. Like
well,
it's hard.
It is hard. But
it shows what a good person you are is what I'm getting at.
Well, I love my wife, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's really what it boils down to.
True.
Honestly, like, and I've been thinking about this, like, you know, she and I go to this stroke support group twice a month. It's, you know, kind of overseen by Prisma and a couple of guys that had strokes, you know, at Prisma. And so they run it and they're putting together, we're working on putting together a caretaker support group because caretakers go through it like on their own.
Yeah. It's a whole different thing.
It's a whole different, we're going through it together, but we're on two sides of the same coin, you know, like she's going through something and I'm going through something and we're going through the same thing together, but we're both in different places. And caretakers get overloaded, they get burnt out, they get tired, they get a lot. And so they're like, hey, we need to start a caretaker support group. And I've heard from several people, just some of the people in the stroke support group talking about their husband or wife, they're like saying, yeah, when my so-and-so was going through this, it would have been nice to have other caretakers who understand what I'm going through to talk to. And I'm like, I'd love to be like your point man for that.
Yeah,
you know,
because you're a great listener and stuff too. And like, but that's the same thing with like all the doctors and nurses. I feel like it's really tough for them. They deserve some kind of support too. My sister's a nurse and like obviously has to see all this stuff come in and everybody's always complaining to her, but then it just stops at her. So like same thing where nothing that horrible, but it's nice to have somebody to vent to or be like, hey, like, we're going through this together. And especially like you changed your whole lifestyle to be a caretaker. Like if you had a job, which I know you're doing realtor.
Yeah,
but you
I was.
Don't really do that as much or at all.
Yeah, I quit.
So it's a huge dump of a lifestyle. And then you're like, okay, Like, what do I do now? Which is weird, but like to have other people that say like, yeah, obviously being a caretaker is tough, but to share that, to be, I guess what I'm getting at is like, even with dogs, I'm a caretaker of dogs constantly. And there is times where I'm like, man, I really wish I had no dogs so I could go and travel and do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it is nice that talk to other people that have dogs and be like, yeah, kind of sucks. The only difference is with I could kind of dump my dogs off, but I choose not to.
Sure.
You can't really dump your wife
I
off
can't.
at the daycare.
No.
I mean,
Let's just dump her off at your
try to
house,
dump
man.
her off with another family member, but they're probably gonna be like,
Yeah,
no,
that's not
can't
going to
stay here
work.
with
Yeah.
you. So
Well, the thing is, like I just really think it's about perspective. And I'm sure that it is true. We know it's true. There are people in this world, male and female alike, whose husband or wife has X, Y, or Z physical tragedy, and they just cut and run. They're not going to take care of them. And then some people
yeah,
say,
they complain about it constantly. Like,
yeah,
I don't really ever hear you like you're like it's tough, and which is understandable. And you're taking care of somebody. That's a job, it's. But you don't ever say like my wife did this. Like it's not. But people do. Like I've met people that are mad at their significant other for stuff out of their control. They said so. I'm like,
in my opinion, man, like how I approach it. Number one, it's a matter of perspective. In some ways, it's a matter of commitment. Like, and I've told people, like, whenever you marry somebody, you make promises. But there's never, when you marry somebody and you make those promises, in that moment, they're not tested. They're just words.
right.
You know what I
It's when
mean?
the test comes up if it really means it.
Exactly. Okay. So now here we are all right, we're in the testing grounds now. And am I going to do what I said I was going to do?
Right.
And then really like it is.
But I want to comment too and say that like you were already in a good marriage.
Yeah.
Like it was never, I'm sure you had arguments like everybody.
Yeah. Everybody does.
But it wasn't like you guys were previously, going through hard times.
No. We had a great relationship, still do. We had a great marriage, still do. But it's number one, am I committed? Am I a person of my word? Am I going to do the things I said I was going to do? Am I committed to it? And then like how much you're right. I don't complain. Number one, I'm not a complainer. I think I don't like people that complain.
Yeah. I don't. It really doesn't do much besides I guess if you're complaining about it, you're thinking about it, which brings up more negative thoughts.
I do not tolerate complaining for my children.
Yeah.
At all.
It's just building more drama, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Really.
It doesn't do any good. I don't think it's a good look for adults, especially men, to complain. Like, okay, this happened and it sucks. Now what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. But I think it's
so.
okay
But I
to
just
vent and then move on. That's like vent and move on. Like that's
if
what
you
I
need
do. Like,
to.
I'm like, that person upset me. Maybe I'll tell somebody about it, and then
Sure.
I'm out.
Right. But the other thing is, I'm a Christian. And I try and view things biblically, and I try and live my life according to the scriptures, and trying as much as I can to follow the model of Christ. And like it really is, in my estimation, this is a people. How can you do this? How can you shoulder all this? How can you take care of your wife for unseen number of years ahead? How can you do blah, 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 blah? And I'm like, I think those are fundamentally the wrong questions.
Yeah.
The right question is, how much do I love my wife?
That's what I was just going to say. Because you actually love her.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because love doesn't have a cutoff point.
Correct. Knows no bounds. Real love.
It doesn't. Look, I mean, if you believe the scriptures, and I do, and if you believe that God loved the world, and he does, and you look at the sacrifice that Jesus made, which he did it because he loved the world. So it goes all the way.
Yeah.
And so it's not, how do I do all of these things because I love her. And then if you love somebody, it's not a chore.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a burden, and in her situation, like nobody wants to be in her situation.
Right.
You don't, I don't, nobody wants to be in it because nobody, when she and I have had this conversation, no grown person wants to have somebody else take care of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you feel like a burden.
Yep.
And I've had to tell her more than once, you are not a burden
To you. Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're my wife.
But
that's what you are. And I love you, and I'm not going to stop loving you, and I'm not going to stop doing these things because I love you and I'm here to serve you.
Yeah. And
as your
something
husband.
completely out of your control that, like, because something bad happened, that would be like, again, if I love somebody and they get in a car crash and I got to take care of them, I don't know how much I love you anymore. It's just not real love.
That's not love.
No, that's just a convenient, like, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people out in the world that are more about convenience than actual loving somebody.
Yeah.
And love's tough.
That's
what I know. But good love, though, is pretty easy because you love yourself and they're just kind of an addition to that, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how you guys met, but like now that I'm at my spot, I was doing whatever I like to do. I meet somebody and they're a great, even my friends and everything. We're all in the same mindset and like, oh, let's make everything around you better. Whereas if you find people, and this has happened to me recently because I've started businesses, but like people get mad at you for doing, like, getting better or, making changes that are positive in your life, which is really interesting. And those are always the people that I'm like, that's not really love. Like, unfortunately, you do got to cut losses on people like that, but like something where you have it and like our friendship is not conditional on like, if you do things for me or if you can't ask me, hey, train my dog, I'm like, yeah, I'll help you out with that no matter what. But that's not like I want something in return from you.
Right.
If that makes sense. Or like if if you're like, Sean, I need help with moving stuff, I'm not going to be like, well, only if you give me you moving it back. Like, there's a lot of people out there that believe in transactional love, and that's just not real.
Yeah, well, if it's transactional,
because
it's not
that was something that happened to me,
Yeah.
And that's hard to process.
Well, the deal is like, we have mutual friends in Tony.
Yep.
And I like Tony and Francie. And, Tony had hip surgery a year and a half ago or whatever it was. And after they got home from the hospital, I'm like, hey, I'll come over here. I'll spend the night. The first night I'll help him up and down the stairs if he needs it. I'll just be here. And they're like, yeah, that's great. And I just got the feeling especially from Francie, that like, you didn't really have to do that. We appreciate it. You didn't have to do that. And then like, they were almost maybe unsure of why I wanted to do that, or even though they took me up on it, but this is just kind of the guy I am. I'm like, well, you're my friend.
Right.
Why wouldn't I do that for my friend?
Just being a loyal, good human. Like, I don't know.
I'm like the dog version of a person.
Me too, though,
yeah,
unfortunately.
But it's just like, well, you're my friend.
Yeah.
And I care about you. So, yeah, of course I want to help. Like, and it's the same for you. Like, I don't. Now, obviously, you run a service that I had a need of. I don't really do anything that you have a need of, but like if you needed me to do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, yeah, man.
I might if I get married.
Huh?
So I might if I get married at some point, need a cigar guy.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that. But I don't know.
But I'm not friends with you because I need something from you.
Right.
That makes sense. Like, I'm friends with you because you're a good person and I just enjoy your company when it's there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that.
Well, you bring up something interesting. Like you said, people, if you go after something and you start building and growing and changing your life and becoming a quote unquote, I don't know if it's better person, maybe in some regards it is better person, but maybe you're maturing. How about that?
Yeah, that works.
You're maturing in character and in perspective,
right,
and in beliefs, and that will upset some people because, I mean, honestly, what I think it is you're like they have to look they look at themselves.
Yeah.
And they see that they're not.
Yeah.
And they don't like that.
As
Because
bad
you're
as it
shining
sounds, is it's just
you're shining a light.
Yeah, it's jealousy. Like in all reality, I hate to, but you know me, I'm very truthful. Like there's a jealous aspect to somebody who's mad that you did what they couldn't do. And some of that's unfortunate because like I was saying to you about like with my nephew just before we started, is like, it's not even his fault. He just kind of brought up like, hey, I really want to do this video game streaming. But he's like, I sometimes am not confident or don't think that I would do good at that. And then like his aspect is great because he wants to do it. But somebody that doesn't have the confidence and doesn't know why or doesn't want to seek help with that might just get mad that somebody's doing it and they haven't, if that makes sense. Or if he's like, so I always look at it as like they're mad because they and I'm always honest too. Like I didn't have self-confidence, but I know that I love dogs and I'm good with dogs. So that's what helped me start my business. But when I first started, I was very, very skeptical of like, is it going to be successful? But like, I kind of just had to jump in the deep end and learn that like, okay, maybe I do have something here. But a lot of times in the past, I'd be like, man, and I say jealousy in like a loose term because like when I look at people, I'm like, man, I wish I was that rich. Right. But like, that's not necessarily horrible. But there's some people on that aspect where, and this is the bad version of people, and we can read about in the Bible, like you just said, being Christian, is like people actually will get mad at you for going out and achieving what might have been their dreams. But instead of inquiring or saying like, how can I get to that point? And why I touched on my nephew is like, how do I get there? And I'm like, just be confident and do what you got to do. Instead of looking for guidance, they get mad at you. They're like, well, you just, you got really like, for example, I've heard people say like, oh, well, you're just lucky. Like, I guess you could look at it through like a perspective of luck, but like, even with your business, you didn't get lucky, right? Like you worked really hard to start a cigar box company and did stuff that people probably aren't willing to do.
Well, that's the whole thing.
I'm like,
I did the stuff people don't want to do. People just want to jump straight to the finished product.
yeah, but like
it doesn't work that way.
To label it as luck to me is almost like an evil type of like, I just don't want to do it. So you're lucky.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so we're sitting here recording episode 51 of this podcast, and I hope to take my podcast to a little bit of a bigger place this year and still working on.
Hopefully so I could get some more viewers.
Yeah.
Selfishly.
Well, we'd have to have you back. I mean, I really want to take it to video.
That'd be cool.
Because I think it would get, awesome. What I think I've told you, and I've kind of mentioned it here and there on the podcast, so I won't belabor it. I don't know if I told you this. I mean, I did tell my wife, I'm like, all right, here's the bargain.
Yeah.
If you get the dog, I get to do this to the guest room downstairs.
Yeah, you told me.
I'm still waiting to hear about the bargain. She's got the dog, but I haven't heard anything about that. It's probably not going to happen. She's just taking her part of the deal, and that's that.
Oh, that's
but,
okay.
It's fine. But, like, and I've said this before, people don't know, here we are, episode number 51, how many different times I tried to do a podcast and couldn't figure it out because I'm not super techie, and trying to figure out, all right, what kind of recording equipment do I need? Which kind of microphones do I need? Because there's more than one kind of microphone. What audio interface do I need? What podcast hosting site do I need? How do I do the editing? Dude, I went through like 4 or 5 or 6 different, like, I don't know how much equipment I ordered from Amazon, tried it didn't work, and I sent back.
I think I was talking to you during all that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just rough. I'm like,
yeah. And it's like
buying a laptop.
Yeah.
To figure out that.
But I figured it out. Why? Because I wanted to do it.
Right. And you made it work.
And I made it work. And
no
that's
what the obstacles were.
Right.
And I still come up with like obstacles all the time. That's what we were talking about before. It's like, hey, like sometimes business isn't great, but like as long as you stick with it, and like a lot of times, and I talked to the other kids that I was talking to about the marketing kids and all that. They're like, we were at one point out on our back patio grilling up like the last 6 cheeseburgers we had. And we're like, well, we're in this deep. So like,
I want you to connect me with those guys. I want to have them on the show.
I already have. They already got your info.
So okay.
They're really cool. They want to do this, and then they want to talk to you about getting your mobile tier box to another level too. They're really nice kids.
Yeah.
But they were funny because they brought that up. They're like, we were grilling like our last burgers, and it's 2 kids, and they're like, most people would have quit by now. Like, we got
Yeah.
nothing.
That's the thing. People, if you have an idea and you want to turn it into something, like most people at a lot of them at the first, but like the second or the third level of resistance, they quit.
Yeah. And
You can't quit.
I think now I'm like a little over 2 years a year and a half of my own company, and I hit rough patches, but I'm like, well, this is what I chose to do. So whatever I have to do outside of even work, like the other day, I was telling my roommate, I'm like, well, maybe I'll go get a different job temporarily to support what my dream is of still doing my business.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to go off that path of like, that's what I want to do. So
Yeah, sometimes you have to work a side hustle to do your or like right now the cigar box is nothing because this isn't the time of year.
Yeah.
Like nobody's having outdoor parties and people are smoking because it's freaking cold. And so, you learn the rhythms of your business. Like things won't start happening until like late March, early April.
right.
For me on the cigar front. But
With all the nice weather coming.
huh?
With nicer weather.
Yeah, when it warms up a little bit and things get, because, at this time of year, look, we've been through fall, which is prime festival party season. Then there's the Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and you hit January and everybody's just partied out. It's over, it's done, and so you got to wait for spring to come. But yeah, I just would like to tell your nephew, if he's worried about not being confident, and that's okay. It's hard to be confident in something you've never done before, but the more you do it,
The better you get at it.
the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more confidence you have. So what you really have to do is just take a breath and jump.
Yeah. It's really
And
tough,
just
though.
do it. That's all it really
Yeah.
is.
And I
Just
know I
have to
mentioned
do
you,
it.
he's kind of lucky because he's still younger. So like, he lives with his parents. So
Yeah.
he's got this, like, hey, why not try it?
Dude, just get get your USB microphone, plug it into your computer, get your little camera, set it up, and get cracking. Set it up on Twitchy or whatever it's called, or wherever you want to stream at. I don't know, and get started. But then it's consistency.
Yeah, 100%. But it is crazy. Like, I mean, I could go back to when I was like a prison guard and I had a retirement at 25 years. How many people told me like, you're going to leave this job, blah, blah. Like everything is so negative when I tried to go and do what my pursuit was, if that makes sense. They're like, you're going to leave a pension. You're going to leave and everybody gave me so much crap. Like, that was such a good job. You could have retired at 48 years old. I'm like, yeah, but like, I was miserable at that job.
Yeah.
That's not something I want to do. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think a lot of people get stuck like just settling. And
just settling for a pension.
Yeah, and a lot of that's like programming. Like my dad was always like, where he would be, and I love my dad, and that I talk about him. Like, he's probably my best friend. But like one thing he would always complain about is like people that had all this money and they were rich, and like I'm like, well, you could have been too, but like he's like, well, no, they had rich parents and blah blah, and I'm like, that kind of helps, but like still they have to have that mindset of like when you start your own company, you have to be okay with failure. And so many people are just not okay with that, if that makes sense. So you have to be, most business owners are going to start and like crash out at some point. And then you're like, okay, well, either I'm going to stick to it or I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
Like my mentality is like, well, I don't want to do anything other than train dogs. So I'm kind of screwed. Like outside of this, I don't.
No, I mean, dude, there's a ton of dogs out there.
Yeah. What I mean by that, like, I don't want to go work anywhere else ever again. Like,
dude, once you
because I don't
start a company, you work for yourself. Yeah. Like going to work for other people sucks.
Yeah, like that being said, I worked for I did this.
I understand. There's nothing wrong with working for other people, but however, I will say this: starting a business and being your own boss isn't for everyone.
No, there's times where I legit, like the sprinkler fitter that I worked for, I worked with two guys that were awesome, and some days I'm like, man, I really wish I could go back to doing that because like being a business owner is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You're doing everything on your own. And for me, it's 24/7.
Right.
Dogs are always in my care.
Yeah. That's like, that that's a whole different level of a job. My cigar business is event driven, seasonal driven. Like if you're a dog trainer, that's 7-day a week job.
But I still work towards the opportunity that I hire kennel staff and
sure.
I don't have to worry. Like I just do the training part. So
yeah,
there's that vision, but like still at the same time, it's not easy.
No.
That's what I was telling my nephew. I'm like, it's not going to be easy to go out and do it, but like as long as you're consistent, I think the biggest message is for like somebody's going to like you.
Do you,
Somebody's going to listen.
having started a business, Jetline Canine Training, do you feel like starting a business leads to more creativity and wanting to start other businesses?
I think once you do it and you're like, yeah, why not? Because then a world of possibilities is like, that's why I opened a rescue now. I'm like, man, well, I already did this. So what's one more? What's one more different endeavor? You know what I mean? Like,
So you started Jetline, but you mentioned at the beginning of the show Blues
Blues Buddies.
Blues Buddies.
Yep.
So that's the next venture.
Yeah, for me, that's like the rescue. And
I mean, what's the big? I mean, you gave us the nutshell, which is like, I want to rescue dogs and then train them, and then be able to send dogs that have already been trained to good homes.
right. Yeah.
I mean, that's the 30,000-foot view. I don't know if there's like,
no, that's pretty much, but like service dogs would be great if I could give them away for free to people that need them. You know, like somebody like your wife, if I had the rescue, I could get all the donations, and I don't. Now, I'd probably do like a $50 just so I know that people aren't just going to resell a dog, you know, if that makes sense, or build a contract where I'm like, you have to keep this dog or give it back to me,
right.
which a lot of rescues do. But like to me, the biggest thing, and I was talking to those kids about this, and like, this is why we like you, because you'll call other people out. A lot of rescues aren't necessarily rescuing dogs because they're just taking them from one bad environment and putting them into another bad environment. Whereas like I'm taking them and I'm training them to set them up for complete success and then rehoming them, if that makes sense. So they're hopefully by me doing that is going to give them more of a success. Like, hey, you got this already great dog. What can go wrong? Whereas like if I get a dog, it comes into the rescue, like you were saying, like they're stuck in their kennels for hours and hours a day. They got no training, and you take that home. A lot of people are gonna be like, man, I don't know what I signed up for, because dogs are a lot of work. I mean, I'll be the first person to tell you that when I get puppies, like it's a pain in the ass, because like you got to wake up every 2 hours and let them outside and let them out to pee and feed them and take care of them.
Yeah, I mean, you said whenever you were in the house before we came out here that like the first 5 nights of her in the kennel was just a nightmare.
Yeah, and that's to be expected. Like she was with her sibling and her mom. So I basically, in the rude aspects of, abducted her from her family and was like, hey, now you got to learn how to spend time alone, which is very, very necessary for dogs. Like they need that independence, just like humans. If we're not independently happy, we'll never know real happiness, to me, is a big key. So like now that she's been chilling though, like after the first 5 days, she's like, oh, let me go back in that crate. That's cool. Get my own alone time, get to be away, get to go to sleep and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, you're right. The independently happy, like my view is that happiness is a choice.
Yeah.
Internal. It's an internal choice you make, and happiness is not really, that doesn't mean you don't have down days that when you're down, or that you don't have difficult moments in life. However, your happiness is not dictated by circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think outside sources of
exterior forces.
Yep. And I think that's huge. And to touch on like my personal life, is I, for a long time, would be in relationships with people, you know, and jump from relationship to relationship because I didn't know what it was like to be alone. So like now that I took that time and I'm alone, I'm like, man, this is awesome. And now when I meet people, I'm more selective, first of all, because like either kind of have the same beliefs or whatever, where, you know, instead of what I see my entire life is like grab onto something and like you mold yourself to try to fit into that, which is just not real love either. So to me, I'm like, okay, I do what I like to do. And now hopefully I find somebody that enjoys being around me enough to hang out.
Yeah, well, you need to have aligned values. Yeah. Otherwise, that's just it's a train wreck waiting to happen. I mean, I think it's the prophet Amos said, you know, can two walk together except they be agreed?
Yeah. True.
You know,
but that's another thing, like we were talking about too, just, you just got to surround yourself with people who are in the same goals, mindsets.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I like talking to you. And then I know you touched on the fact that you're Christian, and like, I really know that you love that stuff, and I like to learn about it. And I consider myself Christian now and found God and Jesus, and they helped me. And like, so I call you and I'm like, hey, what's your opinion on this? Because I value your knowledge.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to share it and I appreciate it.
And the one last thing is like, you also say like, I'm not the end all be all, which is huge. Does that make sense?
Jeez, I am not of anything.
Yeah. Like for me as a dog trainer, like I'm straight up will tell you like, I know a lot about dogs, but like I continue to go and like try to find seminars that I could go to somebody that's been doing this for like 30 years. Because maybe he knows more than me. Probably.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but there's always something that we can learn from it.
Always. Yeah. I mean, I'll probably teach, I can teach you plenty of scripture. I'm not the end all be all. We can talk about cigars, which we didn't even do today. Sean and I did smoke. Sean had the cappuccino cigar from Carolina Cigar Company, and I had a cigar that was sent to me by a friend of mine in Louisville, Kentucky. Man, this is I don't even know how to say it. Jazz Some Crawls Lanto Sanse. Yeah, it's on the Cigar Federation website. It's a Connecticut wrapped cigar. It's pretty smooth, but it's got a lot of Nicaraguan fillers, so it's like smooth and spicy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know you give me the flavored ones because I'm not a real cigar smoker. So
yeah, you are a real cigar smoker. You just prefer things that have been infused.
Yeah,
they're real flavors. Yeah, that's fine. I smoke them from time to time. I'm not one of those guys who think that you're just like a freaking sissy because you smoke.
That's fine. If
yeah, I'm saying I don't.
I know.
But even if I did, you wouldn't care.
No.
So, but we did smoke today. We just didn't really have a cigar section. It's Sunday afternoon smokes, but yeah, man, I'm not the end all be all of anything. I teach you how to grow a great beard. How about that?
I don't know if that's something that can be taught.
No, it can't.
It'd be really cool.
It's genetics, man. If you didn't get it from your daddy, it's not.
You'd probably have a lot of subscribers if you could teach people a beard like that. They're like, damn it, I need that.
No, you've got a good beard, man.
Yeah, but nothing.
You just have to let it grow.
Yeah. Plus, I'm too like picky. I don't want to spend time.
I'm into
it, and I know you shape it. Anybody who takes care of it, and I'm just not that.
You're not that guy.
Nah, it gets too long, and I'm like, I'll just shave it.
Yeah,
it's too much work.
Well, next time we get together, man, I meant to ask you when I was at your house the other day for one of your Jetline hoodies. Totally forgot.
I'll get you one.
You've got some over there?
I'll get you one.
Yeah. Next time we get together, I'll snag one.
Sweet.
So, all right, man. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, if you if you got a dog that needs to be trained, check out go on Instagram, check out Jetline Canine Training. What was the website?
JetlineCanine.com.
JetlineCanine.com. Give him a follow. Reach out to him. Get your dog trained. It will be good for you. It'll be good for your dog, and everybody will be much happier for it.
Biggest thing is I just want to build the best bond between you and your dog, man. Like, it's something special. Unconditional love from a dog is cool. That's what I tell people.
100%. All right. Well, look, thanks for listening to Sunday Afternoon Smokes. I appreciate it. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it on your socials, and share it with the world, because Sunday Afternoon Smokes is really sweet. We'll talk to you soon.